Probably the most common question I get asked is what kind of wax do you use in the bottom of your plane? And the reason we do this is to lubricate the sole so that your effort is spent pushing the blade through the wood instead of pushing the plane over the wood. Well, we contacted someone who actually produces it. We had our own formula made. In fact, they even put it in a nice little container, has our Purple Heart logo on it. And like a glue stick, as you wear it down, you just simply roll the bottom and get yourself more wax. Little squiggle along there is all it takes, and makes your planing so much easier. You try it, you'll see what I mean. Get one for your tool tray and one for your shop apron.
You ready to go, Skillet?
Yep.
We are? Good?
Yeah, we're live.
You filming?
Yeah.
Hi, folks. Welcome. Our Saturday night date night, also known as our live YouTube workshop. This is number something, 23 maybe, 22. We're working on Angie's desk. So I'll start by introducing, that's Angie. She's Ken's cousin. And she is, because of an illness, she's confined to her bed until she gets better, and then she's coming to work here. Angie and her sister Lynn do all of our t-shirts. So when you buy a t-shirt, which is a good thing to do, I'll show you this. So when you buy a t-shirt to help promote the Purple Heart Project, you see a little gold seal. Actually, there's a new one now. We ever got any with the new one? Oh yeah, here's the new one. That's a picture the day that I met Angie, and that's her A, so you'll know exactly who did it. What else do I need to tell you in getting started? What are you pointing at?
Rex.
We need to turn off the air,
Oh, yeah, just yeah.
the temperature.
So, that's what we're working on tonight. But before we get started, there's a few housekeeping things I'm going to need to take care of. Number one is we're doing a draw. So at the end of the night, if you want to have your name entered into the draw, Frick, what do they do?
They simply go to draw.RobCosman.com.
There'll be a link up, right?
Yeah, it's shown in the bottom right-hand
link's
corner.
there. Just go there. There's nothing required. Just got to put your name in there. We're going to do 4 draws tonight. The first one will be, we'll do 3 for our new DVD on building the Cosman workbench. So and these are $50, so we'll give away 3 of these tonight. And then our main draw is going to be for a number 6. Now this plane is going to be souped up by yours truly. And between Jake and I, we'll have that thing singing. That's what we'll send to you. But we're also going to send you a video on hand planing and sharpening, which teaches you the whole method. And introducing tonight, we finally got it. This is our magic wax. This is our super duper lip balm for planes. So there's your wax. We actually had our own formula made so that it works just right, meaning hard enough that it doesn't smear on the bottom of your plane, but soft enough that it'll actually put a light coating on there. And if you've never applied wax to the sole of your plane, when you're planing, you're really missing out because it probably cuts the friction by about 70%. That's a guess. Let's try not to destroy this until we get it to Angie. These are now up for sale. They're on our site. They just went live about a couple hours ago. They're $9.95. Happy to send you one.
Or 2 for 15.
Or 2 for 15. Ooh, what a deal. Get together with a friend. Something else that we have new tonight, we just released. If you're a fan of our wood hinge boxes, now I'm just going to show you that real quick so that you know exactly what I'm talking about in case you're really new. So this is the wood hinge. Nice little box. But you see the hinge? See how that's made? Isn't that cool and slick? Well, we have the wood hinge jig that's available on our site and has been for a long time. But now we've had several people ask, so we went out and we got what we think are the best bits for it. And what I mean by that is this. Do we have an example, Drake?
No.
We just filmed it.
Wait, of what?
Of the groove with the dowel
Yeah, the
lane in
box is
it.
over there.
Hmm?
The box is in that cabinet.
So when you're making that wood hinge, I know that's not tonight's topic, but I'm going to tell you about this anyway because people have been asking.
Left.
Left is that side. when you're making the hinge, it is imperative that the groove that you cut with the router has to be a true half-round circle, so that when your dowel sits in there, it sits in there and makes contact all the way around. That way you get a good glue joint. A lot of times those core block bits are pointed at the top. Well, white side makes the best, and we now carry them in 4 sizes. We carry them in 1/4-inch shanks that'll fit everybody's router. 1/4-inch, 3/8, half, and 3/4. You can buy them individually, you can buy them as a kit, right? Okay. What else do I need to tell you? So you took care of the draw, we took care of what's new. We'll mention that again. What I'm really excited tonight about is who's going to introduce our Purple Heart Project. Now, I got to give you the quick overview. I apologize if you heard this before 100 times, but you're going to hear it one more. So, we started this program 4 years ago as a result of a chance meeting with a man named a combat wounded Marine, Jesse Paratus. And Jesse, who is disabled as a result of an explosion that took place over in Iraq, just happened to contact me looking for a dovetail saw. This was done through email. I had no idea who he was. But he mentioned in the email that ever since he got involved in hand tool woodworking, it was the first time he found any peace from the physical and the mental pain that he suffers from. And I don't know anything about this. I mean, I've got a third cousin that was severely injured in Iraq. And I knew a little bit about his plight, but I mean, as far as the ins and outs of military service, I had no connection really. But when Jesse said that, it really struck a nerve, because I had been accustomed to teaching 50-year-old business executives who would come to my week-long boot camp, totally stressed out on Monday, and over the course of 5 days of working very long hours from 7 in the morning until 11 at night, you would just watch the balloon deflate. They quit shaving, they quit combing their hair, and they just totally chilled. I tell people they'd come tight as a drum on Monday and they leave like jellyfish on Friday night. I thought maybe this is something we should be doing for these guys. So in November of 2016, in large measure due to Bob Lippick. Now, if you look on here, this is a plaque we had done. This bench was supposed to be for Bob. Bob was a really good friend of mine, a great supporter, came to all the wood shows, came to all the workshops I did, used to treat everybody. He would take everybody out to dinner every night. Wouldn't hear of anybody paying for it. Didn't make a big deal about it, just wanted to do that. Bob died a few years ago, and when his wife Barb found out about what we were doing, she wrote us a check for a lot of money so that we were able to pull it off. And we were able to bring in 7 combat wounded vets, and we were able to treat them to a week. We covered their airfare, their hotel, their meals, and each one of those guys went home with about $3,500 worth of tools. We really stacked it up. And it was a defining moment for me. I just knew this is why I was put here. This is my calling, is to help these guys do something to help them live with the negative effects of combat. Colonel Luther Shealy out in Seattle, who should be on here with us tonight, and he'll be answering a lot of the questions. We met up shortly thereafter that, and he was looking for something to do, and I said, I've got something for you. And ever since then, he and I and Jake and Super Dave, another great story, have worked what we call the Purple Heart Project. And to date, we've had 88 combat wounded vets that we've been able to bring in and take care of for that week. And all right, I lost my train of thought. So our Saturday night live workshops, we use this as an opportunity to give you a chance to participate. And you can do it by supporting us financially, and more importantly, by promoting and telling other people about this. We don't do this as a business. We do this as a service to these men and women that have given so much to us. Do not care what country they come from. Of note, out of the 88 we've had 1 Aussie, Ash, down in Australia. We've had 4 Canadians and 83 Americans. Doesn't matter to me where they come from. They all sacrificed, and they are owed whatever we can do for them. So, if you want to participate, you just go on to actually there's a spot on there, but we have a separate page where you can go in, and all of the funds that you donate go directly to this program for either buying them tools, taking care of their hotel, airfare, whatever it is, whatever Purple Heart related expenses. We do not draw any kind of a salary out of it or anything like that. The only thing that comes out of your donation is whatever the credit card fee is, which is 2 or 3%. And so we're having a different vet, previous student vet, is going to introduce and tell it from their perspective what it did for them. And tonight it's going to be Pete Ambrose from Mississippi. And he is a character. He left an indelible mark on all of us in that class. What? I can't talk about it because then I won't be able to get through this. But he's a super guy. So you'll hear from him a little bit later on. Anything else, Jake? Oh, quick note to anybody participating in the bench brigade. You need to be in touch with Jack Lane. Jack is heading this up. He's spearheading it. And just make sure that you stay in close contact with Jack so he can keep you posted on what you need to do and just so everything runs nice and smooth. Did I forget anything, gentlemen? No? Any questions? So we have tonight, I just want to mention, who do we have answering questions? We have Luther.
Luther's there.
Super Dave. And we have Ken, right? And we have Megan. Is Megan on?
I don't see Megan yet.
Megan
I
may
don't
very well
see
be on there as
Ken.
well. If you have questions, ask them. Listen, if you're one of the combat wounded veterans that has been to our class, would you please state that when you check in so that I can give you a proper shout out and say howdy. And I want to be able to do that, but I don't hear about it. I don't read what's going on. I depend on them to say it or to read it. So they've got to alert me. And if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask it. Try to keep it on topic just because there's a lot of them and we try to keep me from talking more than I need to. All right, so we're building this bed desk out of northern white pine, and the reason is that it needs to be light so that Angie can move it around easily. It's going to have a top like this, and you can see how far we got. If you haven't been following us, or you're just coming on for the first time, if you go to our channel, you can find all of this stuff. They're all stored on there. And I might add, do me a favor. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, subscribe. You also want to share it. If you think of anybody else that might enjoy this, listen, we're doing one of these a week every Saturday night. Plus, we are doing we're posting a YouTube every day, 20 to 30 minute YouTube. Right now we're working on drawers. I'm going to show you that in a moment. If you think nobody else, think of other people who are sitting at home and nothing to do or bored out of their gourd. Tell them about it. That's called sharing. And then there's a notification bell on there somewhere. I don't know which side. But that will alert you to any time we release a new video. Something else that you need to do. On our webpage, you can register for our newsletter if you're not already there. Colonel Luther puts a ton of work into that. So there's a different topic every month. And there's always at least 1 or 2 videos specific to that topic. And then usually there's a written article. We only advertise one product usually on each one. So it's not a commercial thing as much as it is an information. In fact, Luther insists that it be, what's he call it? Content? Content rich. What is the current month? Lap joints? No, layout, dovetail layout. All about how to lay out perfect dovetails to get them nice and symmetrical. So Super Dave, check your, Dave was asking me about that, and I said, check your.
But it provides no help on actually cutting it.
Does that Dave need help on that?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. I've seen his dovetails. All right, so I just want to show you real quick. Something else we do. We have an online workshop where we broadcast 3 45-minute episodes each week. We've been doing this for 9 years. Our current project is this standing desk. So here's where we are right now. We are working on this top section. So the top section, Jake, where are the parts underneath? Where are the little side parts? Right there. Right where? I see you pointing at them, but right here? So this is fun. You're going to enjoy this if you haven't already seen it. Where's the mock-up? Any idea? Back where? Way back there? Okay. So sitting on top is this thing. It's going to sit right here. And this is where you'll put letters and had some great ideas coming from people too. Letters, paper, whatever. It's positioned that way so you can open the lid. I'm going to show you that in a second. So right now we're working on that, and of course that's a cherry. So here it is. It's a complicated little son of a gun. So dovetails in the back, dovetails in the front, through wedge tenons for the middle one. And these are complicated, but we've been doing them all week, so join us. In fact, we got a deal right now. Can we put that on there? We put a link on there where you can go on and get a free month and try this out and see if you like it. There's over 2,000. There could be as many as 2,500 episodes already on there. Now, what we're doing on a daily basis, for the benefit of those people who are bored stiff because of the coronavirus, we've already done this drawer. And instead of boring the members by me doing it, not boring them, just to avoid repetition, the next drawer we're going to do it on YouTube. And we're going to show them how to do it. So there's where we are right now. We cut our first set of pins yesterday. Tonight, when we film for the one we'll post tomorrow, we'll cut the other set of pins and lay out the back. Now, if you look in here, so here's where we have our wood hinge on the back. Check that out. I can hear you saying ooh.
That's a half.
That's a 1/2 inch. Yep. So you'd need a 1/2 inch bit. Oh boy, look at this, commercials all over the place. You would use this 1/2 inch bit to cut what amounts to about a little more than 1/4 of each circle on this piece and on that piece. We have videos to do it, teach it all. But then if you come in here, I want you to just check this out. So we did this in such a way that when you see this, there's a drawer there, but if you look it straight on, you can't even tell. There's a drawer here, a drawer there, and then one there, and that's the same piece of wood. So if you look at it, isn't that cool? We did the same thing out here in the front and on the ends. Love doing stuff like that. Absolutely love it. All right, now we can go. We're
Yep.
good? Any questions? Anybody on that I need to shout out to?
Your daughters from Alberta are here.
Oh, my daughters. So I have Loren, Annika, and Carissa, and my grandson Beckham live in Calgary. Nice to see you, girls. Hope you're being good. At home, staying healthy. Anybody else? Any vets?
Lots.
Well, I want to say hi to them. So if there's one, you have to tell me.
There's too many.
No, I don't care how many there is. Sell them anyway. You say it out and I'll repeat it.
Jake is here. Super
Jake,
Dave's here.
Jake
Luther's
Tarola
here.
from last week.
Yeah.
Super David Benson.
David Johnson, retired Navy. It's going to take me forever to go through this.
So, well, these are I'm looking for the ones that have been part of our class.
Okay.
So they need to just say what class they came to. Not that I wouldn't say hello to everybody, but if we get too many people in there, I won't be doing anything but saying names. What are our numbers up to, and when are we bringing in Pete?
We're at 380 right now, and I told Pete around
500?
quarter to 7.
Okay. All right. So this part is done. This part is done. What we're going to do next, what I want to do is I want to put a small drawer in here, but I don't want to build a case. I want to side hang these. So we are going to put a strip of maple right along here on both sides. We've got to set it into a groove because we've got to allow for movement. And that strip of maple, I don't have a piece to show you, but imagine it being about a 1/2 inch wide by maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. That'll sit on there. And then the drawer will slide. There'll be a cutout on the drawer side that'll fit on that groove. That groove will fit on that strip. And that's how we will mount the drawer. Now, in order to keep this nice and stiff so that it doesn't splay at all, we've got to put a back piece on there as well. So we got to go through and do the math on that. The drawer's not going to be very deep. And what else do I need to tell you about that? I guess we can just go ahead and actually start laying it out. So I'm going to need my square.
Just really quickly, the
Yeah.
gnome on your plane. It was asked last
Oh,
week.
yeah. So local, we have a base Gagetown. Pardon? Yeah, I'm going to show them. I'm going to tell them. Sorry first. Base Gagetown, which is about 45 minutes from here, is the largest military training base in the Commonwealth. And thanks to Tony, we finally got on there and had did a one-day demonstration, did hand planes and dovetails. And I think Tony had 21 or 22 combat wounded vets there, which was fantastic, Tony. And we got several of them have applied to our summer workshops. Keep your fingers crossed on that. One of them is came down to visit, and he has 9 children. How often do I meet someone with 9 children? And he made this little. He left me this, so I put this little. I don't know. Is it called a gnome? I don't know, but it found its spot right there at the base of my number 7, actually. So that's the story on that. All right. Don't hesitate to interrupt me, gentlemen. So we will have that drawer sitting from right there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly pencil in the top of where the drawer can sit. And I would imagine, Jake, how deep should we make this drawer? We don't want it to interfere with the way it's going to sit. Inch?
Yeah.
Huh?
I was thinking an inch.
Go 1.25 inches. 1.5 inches. I think we can go 1.5 inches. But yeah, settle for 1 3/8 inches. Got to be so careful with pine. You just heard that me bump this stuff just does not handle abuse at all. So if that is where the top and the bottom of our drawer is going to be, then we're going to come in right at the half point. We will. Yeah. What's the matter?
I can hear Jake breathing. He's using a inferior mic because of the broken one, so it's picking up everything.
Okay. So we're going to put this right in the middle. Should have had that 1.5 inches, so I'm just going to move that down. Or we said 1 3/8 inches, didn't we? We go 1 3/8 inches. This is just an approximate, these lines. So what I'm thinking that we would have that strip about 1/2 inch. So half of that's inch.
So
What?
the drawer is going to be 1 inch deep, though?
1 3/8 inches.
Deep.
1 3/8 inches deep.
No, but I'm talking about inside the drawer.
Well, if it's 1 3/8 inches total, you'll have about 1 inch inside.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so this is where the groove is going to go. I'm just penciling in lightly. It's not going to go all the way to the front. Now, we'll stop that. What's the matter, Frick? We will stop this. Should we let it go all the way out? I don't think so. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it about 1/4 inch in from the end. Anybody else stopping in to say hello? Any other vets?
Angie's here.
Hi, Ange. Everybody say hi to Ange. Say hi to Lynn for me. We just got a big shipment of T-shirts. I don't know how we're going to get them out to you, but got a big shipment in yesterday. I'm going to bring this to within 1/4 inch. No, actually, I'm not going to be 1/4. I'm going to bring this to within 3/4. Yeah, I think we can go half. No, I don't want to run into the drawer front. So I want to stay away from the drawer front, so I'm going to come back 5/8 of an inch. That'll keep it out of the dovetail as well. So right here. All right, so this is all of our waste. This is what we're going to remove. I don't think we need to go any more than 1/8 of an inch deep. So we'll cut that out. We're not going all the way to the back. So that means we'll go in and we'll use a table saw. I'm not going to bother putting a dado in for that. We'll use a table saw to run from approximately here to here. Then we'll finish it with the router plane, and then we can set that piece of maple in there. And you'll see how we're going to deal with that. But we can take both of these over. Now, what we have to do is we have to transfer that 1/4 inch mark over here to the front. So from the front, we are back 5/8 of an inch. You'll see why we're doing this. I'm going to mark it clearly on here. 5/8 of an inch on the front, 1/4 of an inch from the back. Did we find Megan yet?
Nope.
Did she forget? Now, you know what, Jake? I had to plane off one of these. Do you remember which one it was? Because these aren't the same width anymore. Shoot. Well, here, I can find out. The dovetail should line up the back.
So that means you just have to plane down.
Well, they've got to be the same. We're going to reference what we do on one, we're going to do on the other. So they've got to make sure they're the same. That's the same height, so I'll leave that alone. So it's the back we have to take off. Now, what I'll do is use my, you haven't seen this before, I keep one plain blade with no back bevel on it.
What's that from?
It was a replacement blade Lee Nielsen made for another Stanley plane. I think it was a Stanley plane. So.
Are you sure it's not the scraper?
Oh no, absolutely. I remember exactly. But I never, we rarely ever sold them. So when I stopped selling Lee Nielsen, this is just one of the things that was in inventory that never sold. Flush at the bottom. Now what I can do with this, because it's nice and wide, I can lay it up against this piece and then just drag it back corner. And then when I get here, if you try to drag it off like that, and your corner is what's doing the cutting, by the time you get out here, you don't have a lot of reference left. So then out here, what I do is, when I get near the end, I go the other way. So I have lots of reference, and then just move that along. Krista knows how to do this. All those years of wood shows. Now, I also have to fix a couple of these too, which I hate to admit. Jake, what shape is this blade in? Well, we're going to get a sharpening lesson. Screwdrivers are back in stock too. If you haven't got one of these, you want a good screwdriver, particularly if you have brass screws on your plane. And I'll just tell you why. These don't have any taper at the tip, so when they fit in there, they fit in all the way down instead of normal screwdriver tapers to the point. So when you're putting it in there, all the pressure's on that top lip, and that ends up buggering them all up. These don't.
And you grind the tip.
Yeah, we make them even better. We meaning Jake. But I taught him. 500 over here, 16,000 over here, and I've had several people ask, no, I have not abandoned my trend diamond stone. Jake just happens to be the one that likes these. So when I come to work, or when I end up using them, he's already got it out here, so that's what I end up using. But now it's a better system, there's no doubt, but it's costly. If you want the very best, then you have to go with the Sharpening lapping plate, which has a higher level of flatness than you'll get on anything else. But that piece of kit alone is $380, and the only thing it does is keep these stones flat. Find your primary, hold your blade like this, 4 fingers on the cutting edge to distribute the pressure as evenly as possible. I always squeeze my right thumb between my left thumb and my left index finger to hold the two together. Reference on that big wide primary bevel, and then elevate 3 or 4 degrees. And then count out 10 seconds. 4, 6, 9, 10. At the end of 10 seconds, you should feel a slight burr in the back side of the blade. If you do, then you can transfer over here to the 16,000. Now the advantage of the reason we're able to do this, which is going from 500. I usually have a 1,000. Jake likes a 500. Now we jump all the way up here to a 16,000, but the reason we're able to get away with it is because when we set this blade on this stone, instead of raising up a couple of degrees, or 3 over here, beyond the primary, for a total of somewhere between 28 or 29, on this stone we raise up beyond 30, maybe 31 or 32. So you're only working on the very leading edge, and you're creating what we would call a third or a tertiary bevel. And it only takes 10 seconds of work. I wasn't counting. At the end of that 10 seconds, put downward pressure in one corner for 3 seconds, and then the opposite corner for 3 seconds. And when I say downward pressure, I mean I push a little harder this way, and then I push a little harder that way. And what that does is create a light feathering effect, so that when you're planing wide pieces where you have to take multiple passes overlapping, you won't feel the overlap. One will blend in with the next. Now, this is the Charlesworth ruler trick. I actually spoke with David this week. David Charlesworth, English craftsman, well known for his precision. And as I've said before, I'll say it again, the most precise woodworker I know of. And David came up with this technique way back in the mid-70s. And it's just the smartest thing I've ever learned about sharpening. It will cut your time by, oh my goodness, not minutes. It could be measured in hours if you were to include the total prep time on a new blade. And it's just fast. And it allows for freehand sharpening so that it's quick. And if it's quick and easy, you'll do it more frequently, which means you'll end up with far better results. Set that in there. Make sure it lays flat on the face of the frog. Make sure the lateral adjustment lever engages, that bearing at the bottom engages in that long slot. End of your yoke, that's the thing right here connected to the adjuster knob, goes into the rectangular slot in the chip breaker. Enough pressure on your lever cap that it'll prevent the blade from moving accidentally, but not so much as to prevent it from, or to make it difficult to adjust. Now I'm sighting down the sole. I want to get that blade so it's parallel to the sole, and you can eventually get to the point where you can do that by eye. Now, get my wax out. Just run a little squiggle down there, and I'm going to run it on the side too because I'm using the side. So convenient to be able to throw that in your pocket. Now, I'm just going to watch that line disappear. Jake, I need light. If this screws up the camera, just tell me. I'm going to turn it off after I'm done, but I need it. Now, are we selling any wax?
I'm actually not keeping track of the
You
store.
what?
Usually Megan keeps track of the store sales, but I can't.
Don't forget, need a t-shirt. Easiest way to bring up the conversation about the Purple Heart so we can get the information and help us find these guys that need what this will do for them. Okay, let's make sure that these are okay. All right, I think we can go over to the table saw at this point. Now, what I told you, actually, this is what I was about to do, but we need to transfer these marks onto this piece. When we go to the table saw, we've got to drop down onto the blade and start and stop the dado without exiting on either end. So we call it a stopped dado, and we've got to know where to set that blade down. I'm going to ask the question, and you respond. Do you want me to tell you the brands and what I use and why I use? And while you're getting ready to tell me that, I'm going to tell you anyway. So this is a Freud. Jake, we got a brand new one? Or you didn't hear? Let me show you what it is. I have, look at all the blades I have. Got blades coming out the yin yang. And I've got Forest blades in there. I've got Simmons, Simmonds. I have, can't remember all the names. And these are the ones I like. They're the least expensive, by the way. How often is that the case? But they do a fantastic job, I think. And no, Freud does not sponsor me, but it's a good idea. I should call them. So this is the latest one that Jake bought. It cuts nice and fast, but it also cuts well. Now, part of the reason why the blade works so well, and I should do a commercial for Saw Stop, I promote them so much, is that you have a good saw. You don't want run out. So this is a Freud thin kerf rip, 24 teeth, and it has, if you'll notice, every tooth is flat on the top. So that means your kerf is going to be flat.
Just show me the blade.
What?
Well, the blade, they advertise the flat.
Where?
Right there next to the 24.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to see that.
Oh, you mean you can't see the actual tip of the blade. And because it's thin, so it's 3/32 of an inch, it requires less horsepower because you're not cutting as much wood, and you save on wood. So I like it. I like it a lot. Did anybody say if they want me to do that? You guys are supposed to be filling me in.
Yep. They're all for it.
Okay. Now I need to determine. I just need a scrap. I need to determine the height of my blade. I didn't bring it with me. So I want to go 1/8 of an inch. That's plenty. That's it right there. It was a good guess. Okay, now what we need to do is shut this down and get something with a good sharp square edge. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm just moving the tooth, or moving the blade. Okay, it just starts to make contact there. So I'm going to draw a line. That's where the blade first meets the wood. And I've got to do the same thing on the back side. I'm moving this forward as I'm moving the blade forward and back. Okay, so it just starts to make contact there. So there are the two extremes. It's a burn mark. Is that gunk on there, Jake? I don't know. I'm just going to get rid of these previous marks so I don't end up using the wrong one. Now, what I can do, and this is pine, so it's easy to cut, so I don't have to worry about this, but if I was doing hardwood and if I was doing a dado where you had a wide cut and you're dropping down on like this, there's a lot of force wanting to kick that back. So it's a good idea to come in and actually clamp something like that at the point where you're going to you're going to engage the wood or engage the blade. This is pine, as I mentioned, and it's not a deep cut, nor is it a wide cut, so it's easy to control. Now I'm going to go in here and reference that line I drew. All right, that's right on. I'll lock that. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to modify this slightly, just so that. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it right there. I was going to put it on a easier to identify mark. It's kind of in between a couple. But I'm going to set it right there. So I'm talking about this one, the forward one, and I got to line it up with this. So when I set that down, and then I'll move forward until that back line, this one lines up with that. Bring it ahead a little bit, lift it straight off. So you see where my cut ended? Right here on the line, and started right there on the line. Okay? Make sure there's no debris in the bottom side because I want that to sit flat. The only time I ever got hurt on a table saw, a long time ago, I dropped a relatively small piece of, I think it was oak, down onto a dado head without having that backup. And when it went down, it drove that piece into my hand. You see the scar? And it took this piece of flesh all around here and just opened it up. It had several stitches in there to heal it up, and it's a good reminder. Don't do that anymore. Move that over and repeat this process. Make sure the overlap was enough. This is my one I need to follow. Now, I could have done this with a dado set and made just one pass instead of having to do multiples. The problem is it takes time to set up. A dado does not leave you with a, oh shoot, I went a little too far. It's all right, that'll be hidden. The dado doesn't leave a flat bottom. It's got little rabbit ears on both sides. And a little harder to control. The downside to doing this, as I just demonstrated, is you're doing it multiple times. More opportunities to screw up. I keep my pieces in the same position so I know how to lay them down each time. And if I was doing this on multiple pieces, I would definitely have put the dado blade in. Plus, on a saw stop, changing to a dado head also means you've got to change your cartridge, you've got to change your throat plate, which you'd have to do that on any saw. All right, so the last cut should be right about there. I'll check it first. That's right on my line. Frick, how are our numbers?
505.
Huh?
505 right now.
So time for Pete?
Sure.
Okay, as soon as I come over. Good? You got them ready?
Just a sec.
You get them, and then I'll come over. Now, we'll go in here. Set this aside.
1 second there, Pete.
All right. Now, pause this for a moment, and I want you to give your undivided attention to Pete Ambrose. Pete.
Can you flip your phone?
Pete
the other
is
way, Pete, so
a
it's portrait mode.
Pete is a combat wounded vet who fought in Vietnam. He fought in the first the Gulf War as well. And I believe he actually has a son. It seems to me he was actually serving in the Army the same time that his son was. Pete is from Mississippi, and he was a different man when he left than when he came. So, come on over here. Where do we need to have the camera in order to see him?
Pete, can you turn off your live episode or just mute it for a sec? I can hear Rob. That's it. Do you have the episode playing in the background? Can you turn that down? Can you hear me now? I think he has the live episode. Do you have the episode playing on that iPad behind you?
He's getting the message a little late.
Can you hear me now?
It's all right, Pete. You're always late to the party.
Oh, I know why.
Why?
You can hear me now, right? Sorry about that.
Would you have it on mute?
Yes.
That a boy, Fred.
I'm ready for RobCosman.
Yeah, look at- have they got him on the camera?
Yeah, they can see him.
So I'm ready.
Go ahead, Pete.
Ready down here in Mississippi.
Go ahead.
Back here, my double triggered shotgun.
Tell them your story.
Well, I was a Hollywood Marine and joined it in '67 at 17. Went to Vietnam, liked it so much that I extended twice. I got out of the Marines, got married, Air Force Reserve, and then there was no work, so the Army said, we got a job. So at 32, I went back to basic and had to keep up with the 18-year-olds and became a tanker, M1, and finished up in the Iraq First War. After I came back, I didn't get a hello and thank you from Vietnam. I did get one from Iraq, but there were programs out there for veterans, ride a horse, be with the dogs. But I never felt that I was in bad shape to do that. I thought I was okay. I was fine. There was no problem with anybody. And then finally, I went off the deep end, and they put me away for a couple of days at the local hospital jail, and I got out and then started talking with the people about what I was doing. And so this has helped me immensely. When I went up there, I couldn't believe what you guys were doing. And then all of a sudden, Rob and everybody came out of the woodwork. Every time you turned around, there was somebody there, some family member, some friend helping you. And I was probably the worst student there because my miters, needed a whole lot of putty, And so it was good. I really enjoyed it. It's helped me out immensely since I've been back here. I built this workbench back here. Now, there's about 15 things wrong with it, ½ inch too long, ½ inch too wide, but I got 2 vices on there. I got a shoulder vise and an end vise, and I got this, the apron thing on the side, and it's fantastic. I'm surprised I even got it together. It took me a couple months and a thumb. See, this is my good thumb. But this is my bad thumb. So I lost part of this building a bench, and Rob didn't come up with this bench thing until after I had the thing halfway built. But I've immensely enjoyed him. What he's done for vets is fantastic. If I was a person that saw people, I'd tell them. But I really don't get to see people. I feel safer at home with my wife. And so, but this is fantastic. I couldn't believe it when he called me. I'm 70 years old. Why would he want this old guy to come up there and teach him a class when he can get like 20 and 30-year-old guys and gals to come? It just shocked the daylights out of me that he would take me up there and spend his time with me. And I really, really appreciate you guys, everybody. Your son, your daughter, Megan, she got me that Canadian syrup and all those things. So now I got the workbench. Now next month I'm going to buy those wheels from you. So I think it's a little bit on the heavy side. But what Rob does for veterans is above and beyond. He's a Canadian. He's not a veteran. And he does this stuff out of his heart. I mean, he just does it. And if there's a veteran out there that hasn't been up to Rob's shop, you need to get up there. I didn't know diddly squat about planes or chisels. Never used a plane before I came up there. And I can sharpen them, not as good as Rob, but I can sharpen them. And I do know what to look for, that little tiny bit of just perfect shiny piece of metal. And I got that. And so I really appreciate what Rob has done for me and the other veterans who came up there, because he worked with Marines, Starheads, Air Force, Army, Navy. You know, he's got somebody like Luther, who's Army Artillery. That's the red leg, and then he's got Dave. You know, who what? Dave what? Hunts bears or fights bears or something like that.
Hunts bears.
Big character.
Fights
But
bears.
I appreciate you guys. And here's my little monument. You see this? I need a Canadian flag, but I got the red flower you gave me. So that's my little monument to you guys. And I'm shaking now, so I need to put this up on a holder. There. I can't do that too long. But what he does is just fantastic. It's above and beyond anything that I've ever met anybody in my 70 years who would do something for me. You know, I mean, a combat buddy does it for you, and that's it. But Rob's a civilian, and he does that. And I would take Rob to combat any day. You can be my wingman. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Pete.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you. You're far more deserving than you think, and we appreciate what you did for us.
Yeah,
And you keep giving me all the credit, but all of these people who have contributed are the reason why we're able to do this.
yeah.
So thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
See you. Back to work.
Yep, I got my rifle. I'm ready to go hunting.
So I kept trying to teach Pete how to cut dovetails, but he insisted on miters. So anyway, great guy. That's who you're helping. If you'd have met him on the Monday, and then met him on Friday, anybody who's in the class will tell you he had us crying and he had us laughing at the same time. He was absolutely fantastic, and I can't thank him enough. And I only wish we could find more of these, particularly the Vietnam vets that we could help. So you got to help me. You got to help me find them. And the only way to do it is to talk about it. I've gone to Soldier On. I've gone to Veterans Affairs. Nothing. The only way we get any help in spreading the word and finding people is talking and telling other people about it. And sooner or later, somebody says, you know what? I got a nephew I haven't seen in 3 years, hasn't left his house. And then we can somehow get the information to them. And it usually takes another vet talking to them to get them there, but at least we can find them. All right. Any questions? Fire away. In other words, I'm going to go to work on getting this done. Now I'm going to use my I'm using my 1/2-inch not Wood River. This is an IBC, and these are the ones Jake grinds to 17 degrees. So if you're going to work pine, you've got to you need to either make them or get Jake to get you a pair, because that really acute bevel will perform in pine, aspen, basswood, sometimes even poplar, so much better than a normal 25 degree. 25 degree has a tendency to crush the fiber. But by dropping that angle down, you slide right in there, sever those fibers, and oh, what a fantastic job it does. All right, so what I'm going to do here is extend that sidewall first. So by laying that chisel right in there, then just tap it down. Do that on both sides. Now I don't want to come out here because you risk, well, I'll do a little bit, but not much. You risk splitting something off. Now I'll do the same thing on this end. Mom here? can't even let stuff like that happen. You'll end up with dents in your wood. People always poo-hoo pine. I think it's one of the best woods to work with. It ages beautifully. Now, ages beautifully, but you have to treat it with such incredible care and caution. That reminds me, my sister-in-law, when she was a child growing up, the family always had family prayer, and someone would always say something about doing something with care and caution. And she was little, and one day she goes, "Who is this care and caution you're always praying for?" Care and caution. Did you know that, Jake?
No.
Oh, you do now. That was Shell.
Why didn't you use a router to cut the groove?
Power router?
Sure.
You just guessing at that, Frick?
I'm getting the questions from Luther.
Well, I could have, but the problem with using a router is that the rotary action is cutting in all directions, and it's often difficult to control, particularly when you're dropping down into the middle of a piece and then going. Not impossible, particularly with pine, but on hardwood it is. And the table saw is just as easy, and you still end up with a round corner. You've got to come in and then square up. So it's an option. I prefer the least. I wouldn't say. I guess I would say noisy. That's what I like about hand tools. No dust, no danger, no noise. And I get to use these that. I don't know. If I had a choice between a hand router and a power router, there wouldn't be very many times when I would choose the power router. Now, what I'm doing is I'm just setting that so that I have equal depths. It's not nearly as critical, actually, with what we're doing right now. But if you were building something and this was going to be a drawer divider, you'd want the depth to be the same. I just need to take that a little bit deeper. I'll actually come back to here. Now see, I'm not making any contact, so I need to find my deepest spot. And then I'll clean it out so that it's the same depth all the way. How are our numbers tonight, Frick?
Just under 520 right now. So not bad.
Not record breaking though.
No, not like last week.
What did we end? Last week we had 600 and
Almost 7. But they can watch it after too.
okay. Now we'll come this way. Okay, I got to go in here and just tap this down a little bit more. That was Peter Ambrose. If you just do a Google search on dovetail/miter, he'll come up. Now I got a low spot right here. So I'm going to come to that point and then do this one more time. What class was Pete in? The last class?
No, the last set. He was in the first one.
Okay. That's done. How's our time? We're at an hour, so good.
Couple questions about the router plane there. How do you sharpen the blade, number one? And number 2, someone wants to see a close-up of it cutting.
Of it cutting? Well,
Like,
let's
just outside.
actually I don't want to change the depth because I want the same on both. But I will I'll sharpen it as soon as we're done, and then I'll give you that close up. Now that's the Lee Nielsen version, which I prefer over anybody else's, and I'll show you why. And it has to do with how the blade is held, and theirs is superior. Okay, what you can do is come in here. I'll make a cut. It's not quite an inch, not quite half an inch. I'll come in, I'll just make a little relief. And then as I get closer to the line, now when I push my chisel down in there, the bevel doesn't have a whole lot of pressure building up on it from the waist. Now I'm just getting rid of the bulk.
Zoom in on that, Jake, if you can.
Jake, can you come in tight on this? How are you for light?
Looks good.
Did Randy, my brother, come on?
He might be there. I haven't seen him in the chat.
My brother Randy is a younger but larger version of me in girth.
He's got a little bit of height too.
Yeah, he's just extra tall. No. How do you say that? Politely? He has 4 children. They live out in Alberta. Gracie and Jill are the girls, and Ryan and Cartier are the boys. He's a woodworker wannabe. When he goes near wood, wood screams. All right. I'm being particularly careful not to leave as many marks on there. Now let's go over and, which by the way, the nice thing about that rabbit on there is I can plane that off and it doesn't change anything. I'm not planing it off, but I can plane the surface without worrying about changing the fit of the joint. All right, so here's how you sharpen that blade. By the way, so this is the Lee Nielsen number 271, and what's really good about it, the original Stanley and even some of the other reproductions today, that's a round hole with a round shaft cutter on the bottom. Problem is, you can't get it tight enough, and if you hit something hard, it'll twist. Lee Nielsen chose to cut a square hole in there, so when you put the cutter in, the brass knob tightens up against that corner, driving the cutter back into into this opposite corner, so it holds it firmly. It's a great design. Great. So, easy to sharpen, and the nice thing about this is you don't use the amount of surface area that you ever cut with it. You might have to sharpen this once every couple of years. First thing you want to do is come in and you want to prepare the back like you would a chisel. So I don't use a ruler trick on this. And you would set that on there. Now, I've already done mine, so I'm not going to re-scratch it on the 500, but let's say this was your core stone. You set that on there, and it's a little bit awkward because you don't have a lot of surface area. So just go carefully, moving it forward and back. Probably easier to drag than it is to push until you get that nice and shiny. And then to sharpen, you got to get right here on the edge. Set your primary bevel on there like so. Raise it up. and then just do some little short forward and back strokes. Now you should see a full width shadow, so then you know your pressure is being applied evenly. Do that until you can detect a slight burr on the backside. Then come over here and you're going to do the same thing, except you're going to raise it up just a little bit higher. Again, that tertiary bevel reduces your surface or your prep time dramatically. And then you want to get rid of the burr. Just a couple of strokes, keeping that flat down like that. And that's all there is to it. That might take, well, if you spent more than a minute, you probably were doing well more than you should. The initial preparation, getting that back nice and polished, may take a little bit of time. Now you can also, and remember, I don't hesitate to promote Lee Nielsen tools because they're great, and Tom Lee Nielsen is very generous to us. We get 2 mortise chisels for every vet each time we teach. What you can get when you order that, you get, let me see if I got them. I know they're in one of these drawers. They were. There they are. Here's what you get with it. Over here, Jake. You get, that's your 1/4 inch cutter. This is your 1/8 inch cutter. And then you get your 1/8 inch pointed cutter. And you get your 1/4 inch, well, somewhere in here. There it is. Pointed one, so you can get right into a corner. I could find a better way to store these as soon as I get time. All right, I don't think that's any more than I consider that one of our essential tools, and it's less than $100, so good investment. Okay, next move is to get a couple pieces of maple. Now I need them to be my new notepad. Sorry, Ange, I still haven't found my book. How about a pen? You know what? I was going to put a rabbit on that, but I'm not going to do that. That's going to be hidden. It's just going to sit right in there. So I'm going to make this 8 inches. So we need 2 pieces, 8 inches by, I know that's supposed to be a half. It's a little less, so we'll bring it down to that, by 1/2 inch. And I don't want it to stick out too far because we have to cut a groove in order to house this in the drawer side. I really don't even want to go a full 1/8. I think I'll go just, I'll go a 1/4, but I'll trim it back. And I'm just thinking if there was something better than maple in terms of, we'd use Vera wood, but Super Dave wouldn't approve of that.
There's a ban on that.
There's a ban on Vera wood. Let's take a look.
Might even say an embargo.
It could be. Let's see what we can find. You'll notice the shop is in the process of being cleaned. Colonel Luther has got me on a short leash. What are you doing?
We could use Vera wood.
What do we got?
Well, we've got that, is that, I don't know if that's,
Oh, that's the skinny Vera wood.
yeah.
Is he crying yet?
He's already texting me,
He is.
telling me I can't. So I think we should.
Yeah, let's use a little Vera wood. Just out of spite. So I'm using this because this is this is
Take
also
that, Super
known
Dave.
as,
Lignum vitae.
no,
Yes, it is. It's Argentinian lignum vitae.
Argentinian. Don't forget that. What's he saying? We don't have permission?
Was that the medium or small router plane by Lee?
That's
Nielsen?
the small router plane.
Show them the
The
large.
regular is this one. This is the 270. I'm sorry, it's not 270. This is 271. What did I tell you that one was? I don't know the numbers. That's the 271. So there's the regular one minus the wood. I put that base on there. It's a piece of torrefied maple. But there's the, now that has a nice, similar system where it's sitting in a square hole. Cut the adjustment knob or the tightening knob points on one corner. It's got an adjustment up and down, and then you can buy a little device,
An adapter.
an adapter.
An adapter kit.
Who said that?
Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah, adapter.
An adapter
So
kit.
this allows you to use the small cutters made for the smaller router plane. That fits. Just got to spread these. They fit in there like that. And that, and then you can go ahead and use these small cutters in that larger router. There's also a little depth collar on that you can put on there as well to set it to a specific depth and then come back to it. Good tools, critical tools, and a router's great, but if you want to really dial it in and get it extremely precise, then you need the hand tools. All right, so I got to cut this. I hate cutting this stuff just because it's so pretty inexpensive, but I don't have a lot of use for something this wide. Let's go.
Bandsaw.
Yeah, you know what? Just because of the expense of it, I'm gonna cut it out on the bandsaw and then process it. So we need an 8-inch piece. I need a larger. What do I gotta go 1/2 inch this way, don't I? So I need to go about this long.
Jake, I lost the video.
You lost video?
Yeah.
You back?
Yep. Thank you.
What happened?
The camera just turned off.
All right, let's go over the bandsaw and cut that. It's too bad you weren't here to smell. Why's my lamp gone? Oh, we have lots of lamps. Because this stuff has the most unique smell. Now, if you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but this wood was one time used for stern tube
Well,
bearings.
not that one.
Well, a close relative. And a stern tube bearing is the hole in the stern of the ship where the propeller shaft goes through. And because of its naturally lubricating properties and excellent wear characteristics, that's what they would use. So we're going to use it to lubricate this drawer so it'll slide like it has a healthy coat of Rob's Magic Wax. Shameless commercial.
What wood do you think has the best smell?
You trying to be funny? What wood?
No, this is an actual question.
Oh, what wood would smell the best?
What wood do you think smells the best? That you've smelled.
I think there's 3.
Oh boy, we should do a. You know what? That would be a fun video to do.
2 Brazilians.
Yeah, Brazilian tulip wood has just a beautiful smell. It doesn't last very long. Vera wood has a lovely smell.
Now, the point I would give to the Vera wood is how long it lasts. Tulip wood seems to fade.
All right, I got to get a
rather
flat
quickly.
spot on here first before I do the edge. I've got to.
You didn't answer the question. though.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So, yellow cedar is probably my favorite. I think that one is just the
Over
best.
Brazilian rosewood?
Yeah, oh yeah, I don't, yeah. Yeah, yellow cedar. Yellow cedar would get my vote. I don't want to squeeze that too hard because I don't want to distort it. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get a flat surface that I can then reference everything else off of. Because this stuff is was a little bit warped. Now you can hear that hit, miss, hit, miss, hit, miss, hit, miss, hit, sorry, hit, miss, hit. And I don't want to create a problem, so that's why I'm being careful not to put too much pressure on that. Very hard wood, but oh, so smooth. Feel that, Jake, and tell them. Drawers will just slide. I still don't know why Dave is so enamored by this stuff.
Charlie Ray wanted you to know that Derek is here.
Hey, Derek. Derek, Charlie. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to have you.
Luther says camphor wood is the best. Dave Ducharme says sassafras.
Sassafras, yeah. You know what? Camphorwood is now camphorwood is extremely unique. So if you camphorwood smells like Vicks Vapor Rub. By the way, did you try that shower thing yet?
I did. It was amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
You should advertise that. Tell them that. Turn around. Tell Frick. Frick's a
No,
shower guy.
I got the
He's
Frick
got a
cam.
cam.
Oh.
So Jake bought yesterday the Vicks Vapor Rub tablets. You put them in the bottom of your shower, and they vaporize as you're getting a shower. And I tried one this morning, and it was excellent. I had a headache this morning, and it really helped, actually. So highly recommended.
Where do you get them?
Walmart?
Walmart, yeah. Amazon.
That's
Amazon.
something we should start.
Start carrying.
Okay, so I've got a nice flat surface. This becomes reference surface, okay? Now, I went in and I squared and straightened an edge, sitting this on my shooting board. Then I went in and I squared that end. Now, what do we need to do next? Let's cut that to 8 inches. And is 8 our length? I'm going to go just a little bit long so I can actually fit it. Now, this is a little harder than I want to use on my crosscut saw. So I'll use the chop saw. Oh, wow, does that ever smell nice in there? I was going to send that piece to Dave, but it's gone. You stick your head in that hood, and the whole aroma is right in there.
I can smell it right here.
Cool. Really is amazing stuff. All right, let's...
It oxidizes very quickly, too.
If you're using it on the bandsaw, you'll have a little pile of yellow dust.
But it's also oily, and so that dust will trail all the way down your bandsaw.
And then you come back in a couple of hours, and that little that little pile of yellow dust will have gone green. Okay, now the smart thing to do would be to take this. I know I'm dragging this out a little bit, but I want to use this for a reason. It's too narrow this way, so we've got to go the other way. So I think we'll go over. I'm just trying to decide when I want to cut this down, because what I need to do is I need to cut it down like this to get my 1/4 inch, and then I'll go over and I'll cut 1/2 inch strips that way. But I want it to be relatively safe, or as safe as possible, in terms of it being a small piece and wanting to use the table saw. I think I'll end up using the bandsaw for the whole thing. So let's go over and cut our 1/8 inch strips. Not 1/8 inch, sorry.
1/4
1/2
inch?
inch strips.
1/2 inch or 1/4?
half, and then here.
And then you're gonna.
Now, I gotta lift this up higher than I would normally, but I gotta be able to get my fence in there. So we'll set that to half.
Wait,
What?
should you go a little bit bigger so that you can fit it?
Yeah.
Okay. You see that blade wobbling?
Now, smell that? That's really, before I'm not gonna do the other one until I straighten an edge first. Then I have one surface that is finished. Okay, you can wait here if you want. I'm just gonna run over there and do the same thing. Time to,
Should we mention the prize again?
yeah,
Yeah.
you gonna do it?
No. You gotta lift it up. Hoist it. But that's it. Are we gonna knurl the knob on
Huh?
it? Are we gonna knurl the knob too?
We'll soup that puppy up to make it just like it was here. So what we're going to do to it, we'll make the knob so that you can get lots of good torque on it. We'll go in and dress the blade, chip breaker, all of that. We'll go in and make the sides perfectly square, better than they come stock. Chamfer all the corners. We'll have it ready to take out of there and put it right to work. All right, so here's my two pieces. Now we got to do these one at a time. I think we should cut that down first. Now that I've got that cut to here, let's go over to the bandsaw and we'll cut these down to quarter inch. Actually, we're going to go a little under quarter, so we don't have
Well, shouldn't you go at quarter and then plane it under?
close. So I'm looking, when you do this, by the way, what I'm doing in order to measure this, teeth are set. So look behind me, Jake. You can see on there, and you can see the teeth sticking out on opposite sides. Can you see on that? Can you pick that up? You need something behind it to make it.
Yeah.
So when I'm setting this, I reference off of the tooth that is set to my left. That way, I'm getting the exact measurement I want. Now that is right at a quarter. I want it to be just a little bit less than that. I don't have to plane a ton. There. So I'll take my hand plane side and push that against the fence. There's that skinny piece. It has to go to Fort Drum. Let me see it. Probably become part of a hen house.
Tell them we're holding them hostage.
What?
We're holding those pieces hostage.
Okay. How much do we need to take off of that? So I need to keep this edge parallel to that edge. So I'm got, and it's thin, so it would flex easily. So one finger here, thumb here, couple fingers there, pushing it against the sole of the plane. I want to make sure that I engage over the entire length. So you hear blade making contact the entire time. That way I don't end up introducing a taper. And I will check both ends. Where's my headgear? I'll be able to see this a little more precisely. No questions? Luther handling them all?
Sure is.
He's doing a good job.
Yep. We have 600 viewers exactly right now.
So here, let's stop and take a quick second. So if you want, remember, this is, we host these in order to support our Purple Heart program, where we bring in 36 combat wounded veterans every year. We treat them to a week-long, actually it's 6 days. We go from 8 in the morning until 11 at night. What we cover is their airfare, their meals, their hotel, and each vet is going to go home with this year approximately $3,400 worth of tools, somewhere between $3,200 and $3,400. And they're going to get a bench. They're going to have a bench just like ours to work on when they get home. That's the bench brigade is taking care of that. We're taking care of the vice part of it. So help, be a part of it. You'll feel great. And you can go on our website, and underneath the section on PHP, it'll say, how do I help? And then you can choose whatever you want. You can actually, if you want to do this monthly, you can do it as well. And thanks to Philip Gustafson. That was his idea. So he was one of the first ones to join that, and Philip was in our very first class. Thank you, Philip. So do that. Now, if you'd like to participate in the draw tonight, all you got to do is click on that thing and put my name in the draw. So here's what we're giving away tonight. We're giving away 3 copies of our workbench DVD. There's 3 discs in there. One has a data disc, the other 2 are the build. We're giving away, our top prize is going to be this number 6, all souped up with our new plane wax and the video on how to sharpen and use a hand plane. So you'll be all set to go. So tonight we're selling t-shirts to help raise awareness of the Purple Heart program. This one says wood is good on the back. And turn around, Frick, you have that jacket on. Where happened to Jake Rex?
He had to go pick up your cookies.
Oh,
My wife made cookies for you again. Didn't make me cookies.
healthy ones? Oh, here, right here. So our second t-shirt, because you're going to want to collect them, we got a new one coming soon. This one says wood doing good, thanks to my niece Michaela. She came up with that slogan. And we have our plain wax, which is now available. You can get it online. $9.95, 2 for $15, and we also have just released our router bits for doing the wood hinge box. So get your name in on the draw. We're happy to give it away and send it to you. All right. Anything else? How are our donations? You don't know, Fred.
I can tell you we have paid for 1 vet already.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I want to bring up a name, and that is Charlie Ray. Charlie was, I would say, the unspoken heart and soul of the class that he was in. What an incredible individual. If we had one Charlie in every state, this would be a better country. He's always looking out for vets. He's a vet himself from Vietnam, and I just think the world of him. He's always the first to contribute. What an awesome guy.
Do you remember that time that he came to the class and Luther had his height written down wrong?
Oh, so was it Charlie the one that we? And what did Luther had so when the guys register for the class so that we can match benches up and make sure we have enough left-hand, right-hand benches. So Luther had Charlie as being
6'8".
6'8". So we're all waiting for them to arrive on Sunday, and let's just say when Charlie came in, he didn't have to duck. And you, Charlie Ray? So wasn't quite 6'8". Might have been before he got shot in Vietnam, but. All right, that's getting close.
Do you want it to
I'm
be
gonna-
tight?
no, well, I want it to be snug. I don't want to have to force
Well-
it in. Now I'm checking both ends.
But you're not worried about expansion?
Nope. Nope, not on this size. I'm checking both ends, and this one seems to fit easier than this one. Now, this pine is so soft, it's easy to destroy. So, what I'm going to do, I think I've got this a little bit out of parallel. So I'm going to come in here at about the halfway point and take a full pass. And I'm going to back that off too. Wow, that's really close to what we want. Still a little bit tight on this end, so I'm going to do this again. A little bit here, come back, go forward, come back, go forward, and I'll check this. Nope, still too much. Take one full length. Okay, so that fits in there just snugly. Okay, good, perfect. That fits exactly the way I want. How are we for time? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this one done. And if I have to, I might do that other one off camera, but let's get this one done so we can say we actually completed something.
How do you get your Wood River Plain sides into square if they are out of square?
Well, I'll show you what I did because I did it to mine. Don't blame me if we don't get very far, but I like answering your questions. So here's what I got. I have this big old beautiful disc sander. Now you look at this and you think, oh, I can't afford that. I paid 1,000 Canadian for that. That's about 200 American. Stay there, I'm coming back. So I bought it on Kijiji, Jake?
No.
Yes, I did.
Are you sure?
Yes. I got it from a guy in Hamilton, Ontario. So Canada Kijiji is what you guys call Craigslist.
But better.
Better? Nobody's been killed on Kijiji?
Well,
Not recently.
So this is and on this, I have two of these, by the way. I've got this one. So this is a dual 16-inch disc. And over there, I have a combination 16-inch disc with a 6x48 belt sander. That's a General. This is a Wadkin from England. So this is where
But the general's just for wood.
the General is just for wood. So what I did is I squared this up perfectly. Now, typically they will tell you, I don't want to do that. I got my blade out. That you always work on the downside of your disc, but I'm experienced, so I can do this. And I run it back and forth, and you'll see the marks on there. But I can square these up so that they're perfect. Right on, so when you put a square on them, there is no light. Now, if you want me to do yours, sorry I can't do it for free. We have to
Sorry, you can't do it.
Well, actually, I was going to get you to do it.
Well, I can't do it.
You can?
Can't.
I'll teach you.
No, I can't.
That's how I do it.
I'm under restraints by the colonel.
Same guy?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try to do this right on here. Now, I'm trying to push in the middle. You know what? I'm not going to do it on there. I'm going to do it on my, I
Thin stuff.
purposely made a special board. I need to make a new one, by the way. This is for planing small pieces. It's just a piece of MDF, but it's been through
Should
the...
you be using your block planes though?
No, I can balance.
I wonder, like, have they noticed how the color has changed significantly?
Oh, yellow from green.
So we have a question from Michael. He's new to the show.
Hey, Michael, where is he from?
He didn't say. We'll find out. But he wants to know why a precision tool, such as a plane, is not ready to go right out of the box.
Good question, Michael. And I asked that question. If you buy, let's step back 20 years. You bought a dovetail saw, you buy chisels, you buy a hand plane. Just about any hand tool you can think of, they weren't even close to being ready. Dovetail saws had such terrible teeth. Chisels are they're just not ready. And the reason is twofold. Number one, that's something you want to do yourself. You want to personalize it, you want to make it perfect. Number two, there's actually three reasons. Number two, the guys who make the tools rarely actually know enough about that. I mean, here's a classic example. I still actually manufacture. Luther keeps telling me, you shouldn't be making tools. Well, I'm fussy and I want them done right. So I make I have my hand in just about every tool that's made in here. And I'm the guy that knows how to use them. So I'm going to make sure that tool is to my standard and it works when it leaves. But in bigger companies, there isn't anybody like me walking around the floor making tools. And the experience and the manufacturing of the tool have had such a gap now, they don't even have anybody associated with the business how to use the tool. Big statement, I know, but I can stand behind it. So if they don't know how a plane should work, they can't send it to you ready to work. And you get the parts. And prior to Lee Nelson coming along, if you bought a Record or a Stanley, you got pieces that you then had to go remanufacture, and hopefully you could make them actually perform. They're terrible. That's just the way it is. It's funny, too, because you wouldn't buy a car and expect to have to go get the front end aligned after driving it new off of the lot. But when it comes to hand tools, that's what it's like. Now, how has that changed? There's been a whole renaissance in hand tools, and it started probably, I would say, it really started getting wound up in the mid-90s. That's kind of when the wood show circuit really kind of started to take off. So now, if you buy an IBC chisel, an IBC chisel out of the box will cut probably, what would you guess, Jake? 90% of, as well as what we would make it. So, yeah. Most people would buy them and think they don't need to be sharpened. They do need some work, but they'll cut well right out of the box. The Wood River planes versus a Lee Nelson plane. You buy a Lee Nelson plane, you might have to do a total of, I'm going to put it in minutes, 5 minutes of prep work just to kind of really tune it up. And a Wood River, you might have to do 10 to 15 minutes. Saws, I can only comment on my own. These are ready out of the box. They are as if you took them off of my bench. I guarantee it. How do I know that? I make them and I test them before I put them in a box to send to you. Squares, these should any kind of square should come ready to use. People always ask me about the plane. I said, well, how do I flatten the sole? Well, you shouldn't have to flatten the sole. And to be honest, the sides should be square, but there has to be a tolerance. And the tolerance is 1.5 thou over the length. You can't expect it to be 0.0000001 because if that was the case, you couldn't afford it. They'd have to spend so much time fine-tuning it. So they state their tolerance. Our planes come within this tolerance of being flat and being square. If it's outside of that, you have every right to return it. However, do you want the hassle of going through that? Sometimes the little bit of work you have to do to it is not worth the hassle of returning it and trying to find a better one. So that's why I went through and did mine. I didn't have to take much off it. It was just a little bit. It worked fine out of the box. I tuned it up a little bit more.
You've been offered a considerable donation for the toilet paper in the background.
Have we?
By Steve Roshan.
He wants this?
He'll pay in American dollars too. So.
Name your price, brother.
Well, we're actually selling it by the sheet.
Maybe we should sell it after a good feed of Mexican food.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the sheet. Did we introduce Rex? So our crew is limited to family in these corona times.
6 feet.
And we all live in the same house. So we've got Rex, my oldest son from Halifax. Don't eat those, Frick. They're not good for you. My oldest son from Halifax, whose job shut down, so he moved home with us a month or so ago. Jake's behind the camera. And Frick is there eating cookies that are healthy, that are probably made for me, that he's not supposed to be eating. Way to go, Frick.
I never get cookies.
All right, so this is ready to put in. So let's go in here and cut this short. I don't mind answering those questions. I love being able to talk about that stuff. I love being able to give people a little bit of guidance because if you're like me, when you first get started, you buy the stuff, you have no idea what to expect. You think it should work out of the box, it doesn't, and then you think, well, what am I doing wrong? So we make it our job to get it right. Okay, so here's what we have to do. This is going to expand, so we can't put that in there tight. I wasn't thinking about that, so I'm going to hold that back about that much. Mark that. Come in here and cut this. Now, you know what we could do? We could, just to make it a little neater, and we've got the material, we could cut a little bit of a notch like this. A little bit of a notch like that, so that two things. It'll overhang this so we don't see an ugly gap, and it'll also give us a little more reference surface on the drawer. So let's do that. I'm glad I made that a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in from each end. These have already been squared up. I'm going to come in from each end about 1/8 of an inch.
Your wife says hello.
My wife does?
Yeah,
She missed me?
That's
Yes.
not likely.
Hi, honey. I'll be home soon. She said hello.
She said, "Hi, honey."
Really?
Yeah.
Talking to you or me?
No, probably not me. No.
Okay. Now, what we need to do is we need to measure that depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my marking gauge. I'm going to drop that in the... Oh, shoot. Is that a 1/2 inch, Jake?
Shouldn't be. Oh no, that one is. Grab
No,
the
it's
other
not.
one.
No, it's not. No, it's 7/16. I'm going to drop that down in there. Lock it. Then come over here and scribe. Oh, this stuff is hard as a rock.
I think it's 3,700 Jenka.
Is it? What's pine?
Like 4.
4?
No, but I think it's 400.
400, and this is 3,700. And explain to them what the Janka scale is.
It's like the
Rockwell?
it's like the Rockwell hardness for wood. Actually, I think it's the exact same. Isn't Rockwell when they use it
Yeah, they push a
around?
ball bearing sort of thing. They measure how far in it goes. Okay, under a certain amount of pressure, they measure the depth, and that determines how hard it is. So this stuff is hard. We would say hard as a bolt hard.
Well, Maple's 1,400.
And this is 30,
37.
37. Okay.
Have you ever considered buying a format circular saw?
Format?
Format circular saw, that's what it says.
No. Now I'm trying to cut down to that line. Gotta go a little farther. I'm watching the scribe line on this side and on that side, and I'll flip it over and do this one. You know, I really like this format of doing this build without a time pressure, trying to get it done in the episode. But we do need to get it done before Angie gets better and ends up coming out here and finishing it herself.
We probably should have used the same format for the other 12 projects that lie around unfinished.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now, do we rip that or do we, I'm gonna try on one end, just using a chisel on it. And what I'll do is I'll start out on the end to make sure it's gonna split properly. Sometimes you never know if the grain's running a different direction, it'll go under, and that causes a problem. No, that cut clean. Do a quick little commercial. So we make 2 different size mallets. People say, why do you need 2 mallets? Well, you know what? I just want very, very light pressure on this. So we use the small mallet just to finesse that. So I'm sneaking up on the line. Whoops. Now I'm going to sit right in the gauge line. Hold that chisel plumb. And that one worked out perfectly. So there's no slope on it. Is George on? I haven't heard George mentioned tonight. George Barber?
I haven't seen him.
Okay. Let's try this end. Okay, so here's what I mean. I'll show you what happened. On this one, the grain is obviously running the wrong way. Now, fortunately, I didn't go all the back. Can you see that mark, Jake? I didn't go all the way to my line, so by starting out here, I discovered before it was too late that I can't do that on this one. So this one's either going to have to be sawn, or I could possibly go in and chisel it sideways. Now, I'm going to turn this around. Is Jeff on tonight?
I haven't seen Jeff, actually.
I'm going to put the chisel right in the scribe line. Yep. A bit too soon. Give it a little bit of a tap. Now, I did that just so that when I cut across, I don't end up blowing out the back end. Can't take too big of a chunk. And because I've made that cut down there in the bottom, I don't have to worry about it breaking pieces out on the far side. Now, if I can find a marking gauge line on this side, then I can go right. choke up.
Jake, do you know if you need credit card info to sign up for the free month
Yep.
of the online workshop? You do.
Yep.
But you can cancel it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Directly on your account.
Yeah.
But they need to know that as soon as they cancel, their access is revoked.
Right.
So what it's saying is sign up, become a member, first month's on us. If you like it, stay, enjoy the first month for free. If you don't like it, didn't cost you anything. CCM makes skates, and they've got a great deal on, which I think is the best thing's ever happened to it. Buy the skates, use them for 3 months. You don't like them, refund, full refund. You spend $600 to $1,000 on a pair of skates without even being able to try them. Pretty risky, but that's what we've always had to do. So we'll just say we took our cue from CCM. Now I'm just putting the chisel on there like that to see if I'm bumping into anything. Actually, what I need to do is use my marking gauge from this side and use it as a paring tool. See that? There was a little bit of material there, and I can just pare right down, referencing off of this inside face. Pare right down. Then I'll check this one just to make sure. Okay, they're both nice and clean. So,
Is that being glued in place?
no, not being glued. This is going to go in with. So I have, if you want to look, I have about 1/8 of an inch. Total. No, actually, I got more than that. I probably have 3/16 of an inch play.
Pull
So,
it all the way to one end.
If I go all the way to one side, I have that much room. But I want to cover the ends. So I'm going to put it in there like that. That is still a tiny bit snug. Let's take one more pass off it. Oh, that's I'm having to push too hard on that. Now I got to get it out without damaging my. So what I'll do is use my chisel. I'm going to lay something on there to protect it. Jake, can you put your hand on the board? Up here. Put one finger here, one finger there. Trust me. Come on. Okay. Now this end is just a little bit. I'm going to flip this around, see if I can't get. Okay, that's it. That's perfect. So we'll set that in there like that. So there, show you that. See, that's nice and neat now. We don't see the gap on either end, but we have room for that wood to expand and contract. And that's sticking out just enough that we slide our drawer on there, it'll slide nicely, beautifully. Now what we need to do is we need to go in and probably have 2 screws. And we need to put the screws. If I thought I could get away with it, I would just put 1 screw. I might.
Well, why couldn't you get away with it?
Well,
What are you worried
that's
about?
pretty stiff. I just want that. I think we can do that. I think what we'll do is we'll get 1 screw right in the middle. Don't have to worry about an oblong hole. 1 screw in the middle, countersunk, hold the whole thing in place. That's stiff enough and short enough. It's not going anywhere. All the force is going to be vertical, so it's not like it's going to come out. And that means all of the expansion will go equal from center, so it never pulls all to one side or the other. And you don't have to worry about things having to slide underneath the screw head. That's going to work perfect. How much time do we have?
Out.
Ah, shoot. That's what we'll do next time. I'm going to go ahead with your permission. Tell me if you don't. Tell me if you'd rather see the whole thing through. What I'm suggesting is, on my own, I'll go in and I will get this one caught up to that one. If you want me to just do everything on camera, say so before we actually wind this up, and I will wait and we'll do it all on camera. By the way, I got to take this off, plane this all up so it's finished, and then put that in place. So, just thinking about next Saturday. By the way, listen, remember, if you think somebody else would like to see this, share it with them. I need you to subscribe to our channel. I need you to hit the bell thing that tells you when we're doing it, on whatever side it's on. But I'll ask you to do another favor for me. We people who produce YouTube videos, the only way we get paid is when you actually go on there and watch one of those commercials, the annoying commercials. We don't get paid by the number of subscribers we have. We don't get paid by the number of views. Only get paid when people go on and actually watch a commercial. So do us a favor, every once in a while, sit through one. Can't be that bad. Anything else? And don't forget, if you haven't registered for our newsletter, Luther puts a ton of effort. Jake, we all put a lot of effort into that. It's free. There's no catch. Go to RobCosman.com, register for the newsletter. Let me see a big surge right now, and that'll make him happy. It's nice when you do a lot of work and people come on and actually view it.
We also send out the times and
Yes.
advertisements for the live
Yeah.
episodes on
Yeah.
there as well.
Let's advertise next week's live YouTube.
Didn't we just do
Right now?
Yeah.
that? I thought I just said that.
Well, I know, but just so it's clear, just that
Next
everyone
week,
knows.
we're our new time, 6 p.m. Eastern. What we're going to do next week, based on what you tell me, we're either going to finish this one off. It'll be a little bit quicker now that we already figured out what we're going to do. And then all we got to do is we got to figure out a neat way to put some kind of a support in here. I don't think I want to come all the way down. Now, if we don't come all the way down, if we keep it short, this is something to think about. If we keep it short, so what I'm talking about is we're going to have a little support, something that goes side to side, a vertical piece. You might call it not a privacy panel, a modesty panel, they call it on the back of a desk. But what it does, it prevents racking. And you don't want any racking or the ability for that to spread when you've got a drawer in there this dimension needs to remain stable. If we go all the way to the bottom, the problem is it's not going to work the way I want and being able to sit on Angie's bed with some space underneath it. If we leave it short, then we've got to make sure that the back of the drawer looks as nice as the front of the drawer because you're going to see it. And I don't mind that. I like doing that. So that actually, I'm toying with that. If we kept this, maybe we put a little arc in there or something.
Well, but then don't you have to worry about the contents falling out of the drawer?
Yeah, good question, Jake. Good. Actually, you know
So
what?
I think it should go to the top.
Got some things to think about. Last chance to get your donation in, your support. I hate calling it a donation. But we got to figure out a better way to say it. Your thank you.
Participation?
Last chance to get your thank you in to a vet, a combat wounded vet in particular, but we appreciate all of our veterans. And last chance to get your name in for the draw.
I already cut it off.
Oh, we already did? Okay.
We
So-
have 425 entrants.
Wow. How many people do we have viewing?
We have viewing 654.
654, so just a little bit shy of last week. Don't forget your plain wax. You guys have had us crazy busy making saws. There's been a huge increase in the number of saws that we make, but Ken and I are committed to doing them, and Jake.
So we need to know which
Okay,
prize
so first-
is being drawn.
Take them over there, Rex. So the first thing is the 3 copies of our new video. By the way, you can build that bench in a weekend. I'll give you a quick update. We are out of vices. We had a huge response to that, but we have a large shipment. In fact, we have a huge shipment coming in, leaving Sweden on the 15th of the month. Hopefully, we'll get our hands on it the first part of May. Bench dogs and vices. So people are getting their name on the queue now. So if you're planning to build a bench, and you haven't thought about buying your vise, you probably ought to be doing it sooner rather than later.
All right. Copy
Huh?
number 1.
No.
Copy number 1 of the DVD goes to Larry Cavallina. Copy number 2 goes to Alex Dalton. Congratulations. And copy number 3 goes to Steve Roshan. Okay, and then what's up next? The plane?
The plane, the video, and the plain wax.
Okay. Grand prize winner is Daniel Gang.
Oh, Daniel, really?
Yeah. A regular.
Yeah,
Finally won.
yeah. Daniel just placed an order the other day. Probably already owns that plane. Thank you. Congratulations to those of you who won. Thank you to Frick. He puts in a lot of time, believe it or not. And we got this smoothed out. It went pretty good today.
It did, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to Pete. Appreciate you being on there, Pete. You're awesome. Thank you to Jake behind the camera. Thank you to Rex. Thank you to Ken at home who's answering questions. Big thank you to Luther, Colonel Luther. He's what makes this work. Thank you to Jack Lane down in Texas for taking on our bench brigade. He's got all of that is off of my shoulders. He's doing it, and he thanked me for allowing him to do it. What a great guy. Thank you, Jack. Who else do I need to? Dave. Super Dave.
It goes
We
without
need to
saying.
put Vera. It needs to become Super Vera Dave. Super Vera Dave.
Just Vera Dave.
Vera Dave? Veradero. Super Vera Dave. Awesome, brother. We think the world of you. And did we ever make it ever come on?
No.
And my beautiful wife at home who can't wait for me to come home. Honey, I'll be there soon. Good night to my daughters in Calgary. Beckham. All right, this is starting to sound like the
let's go.
Waltons. Okay, guys, we'll see you next Saturday. We'll post a video for you tomorrow, every week, and fire your questions in. So you stay healthy. Do what they tell you. Stay inside. Stay in your shop.
Ooh,
We'll get
happy
this
Easter.
thing over with. Pardon? Oh, and happy Easter. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot. Yes, happy Easter. Spend it with your family. See you.